All right, everyone, welcome in here on a Tuesday, February 1st, 304 Daily. Looks like we were having some technical difficulties there. I'll make sure that I get the, you know, actual link out to everyone because I posted the one for. I don't know, man. This software is just messing with me, but looks like we got it all under control now. Dan Steinbach, no Ryan Wilkes today in our producer's chair, so flying a little solo, but I am joined by Connor Levinson, who will be our screener for the day, as well as Will Lachlan, who at the top of the hour at 2 o'clock, he's got a little bit of a Virginia Tech football trivia game for us, so very exciting stuff there. All right, Connor, you are new to the program, so why don't you take a minute, go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend.
Yes, I am. I'm a freshman here at Virginia Tech, and I'm studying sports media analytics. So I'm right in my wheelhouse here on the show, and I'm really excited to get started today.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So I'm just trying to get this link out for everyone else because I, you know, I don't know what happened, but something messed up. So we'll get that out to you guys, and hopefully we can get some better volume in there. Apologies for the you know just faulty link, but we'll get underway here. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of football today. Man, this is just it's embarrassing, really. Okay, here we go. So, the big story of the day, obviously, now that we're finally live, actually. Tom Brady has announced his retirement today officially. Adam Schefter was a little bit of shaking in his boots there, but Tom Brady's officially made his announcement via, I think Instagram was the first place he did it, and then it's all over Twitter now and stuff like that. So, multiple posts. Didn't mention the Patriots in his initial, but then I think he came back on later and thanked the Patriots organization. So, you know, no grudges as of now at the moment. But obviously, it's the official end of an era. The GOAT of football has retired, and it provides a unique situation because Tom Brady, in our lifetime right now, it is very rare the fact that we are witnessing so many all-time greats in every sport playing at once. And Tom Brady presents the unique situation that in his sport, by the time he's retired, I don't think there can be a credible argument to be had that there is another best player of all time in football. I really don't. Maybe you guys have something else. Maybe our listeners want to chime in, whether it's the YouTube chat or text us at 540-216-2231. But he's got the 7 rings, went to 10 Super Bowls. He played for 22 years. Never really fell off. I mean, even when the stats started to slump at the end there in New England, he comes back for Tampa for 2 years. He went to Super Bowl his first year there. There's a credible chance that he could win MVP this year in his final season. He left when he was still a top, at least 10 quarterback in the league. I mean, you can make the argument for top 5. It's so remarkable that he was able to, keep that level of play up. And he honestly, you look at how people are treating his retirement and they're trisecting his career. It's been 22 years. You look at the first 7 years, the next 7, and the last 8. His last 8, honestly, was probably better than his first 14. His numbers just went up. He won 4 Super Bowls. He led the league in passing multiple times, and it's just insane how it seems like he got better with age. Younger, he didn't really have to do a whole lot. Those Patriots defenses were really great, and then just at the end of his career, it seemed like he was able to, just get into another gear of elite status. And he, I mean, even in the Super Bowl, say like that he lost against Philadelphia, he threw for 500 yards. It's ridiculous how well he played at his age. So I want to get your guys' quick thoughts on this, and then I want to segue into, I want to segue into what I think is the larger conversation here regarding his greatness level. Connor, I want to welcome you in. Why don't you start off today?
Yeah, well, so obviously, I think undisputably he is the greatest football player of all time. Um, People can make an argument saying, Montana and all these guys that could potentially be a better quarterback than him, but I think at least for right now, he is the greatest quarterback of all time and probably the greatest football player of all time. And I think currently right now, we're lucky to be living in a time where in pretty much every sport we are seeing some of the best athletes that have ever been there. Whether you look at basketball with LeBron, you got baseball, you got guys like Mike Trout. We're seeing a time in sports that hasn't been seen for a long time. There isn't a lot of time where you go and look back and say, wow, in all these four major sports, we're seeing guys that are the greatest. Like even in hockey, we got guys like Connor McDavid who are coming on and being phenomenal at their sport. And it's something that's rare, and it's something that we're lucky to be seeing right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of surreal. And I guess maybe the word I would say to describe my feelings towards Tom Brady retirement is just kind of like bittersweet. And it's bitter and that like he's like literally my entire life I mean, he made his first start before I was even born in 2001. Um, and so, I mean, as long as I've been alive and watching football, he's been the star quarterback for the Patriots. He's been winning Super Bowls. There was a gap where like they didn't win a Super Bowl for a decent amount of time, Brady and Belichick with the Patriots, but they still went to a couple. They nearly had a perfect season in 2007. And he was still obviously an elite quarterback. And then, so I mean, just as far as I'm concerned, like Tom Brady became like the GOAT quarterback and even really the GOAT of football when they made the 28-3 comeback. I think that was like the moment it was what, fifth ring. And I mean, really everything he's done since then is just icing on the cake. And I think he's probably the greatest team sports athlete of all time, as far as I'm concerned. I would put Brady above Jordan, above LeBron. I don't really like to mix like team sport with solo sport just because I don't really think that's like a fair comparison to make. But yeah, I'd say he's the team sport athlete GOAT. Obviously the football GOAT. And I mean, look, and Connor, to your point, I think not only are we seeing like the greats like LeBron and Mike Trout and Tom Brady in their respective sports, still dominate and some of them, with LeBron and Brady are kind of like still great, but they're fading away. And we just see LeBron, eventually it'll happen. If it happened to Tom Brady, it's going to happen to literally anyone. Mike Trout's still kind of in his prime, so he's still a little bit further. But we're also seeing like the younger guys really take over the sport and just take over their sports with like a stranglehold. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow's in the Super Bowl, Justin Herbert's amazing. In basketball, you got Luka and Giannis just won a ring. I mean, baseball, Juan Soto's won a World Series. Ronald Acuna, even though he didn't play for the Braves, just won a World Series. Tatis Jr. So, I mean, like we are in like a special era of sports where we're seeing like the greatest of all time in these major professional sports, arguably one of the greatest of all times, if not the greatest. We're also seeing like the future potential next greatest of all times come up and like shine right before our eyes. So it's definitely a special time. But it's bittersweet because, Tom Brady is just, for as long as I've been watching football, he's been that dude. He's been just one of the best to ever do it. And of course, he is the best to ever do it. But I say it's a little sweet just because I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and he has been kicking my team's butt for, I mean, decades, like he's beat us in the AFC Championship, like 3 times, 2004, it was 2004, and I don't even remember the first couple times. One of them was in 2004, and then 2016. I mean, there's only a very few times that the Steelers have actually been able to beat Tom Brady, but that's kind of the sweet part, is seeing, the guy that's just kicked my team in the butt for so many years finally retire. But it is bitter just because he's, as a sports fan, you just look at his career and it's like, this dude, he left everything, on the field, and he's just like so clearly the best of all time. We have the debate between like LeBron and Jordan, who's the best of all time, but like with football, it's like so obvious. I know there's a few like Peyton Manning truthers out there that'll tell you like Peyton at his best was better than Tom Brady at his best. I disagree with that. But like Tom Brady is clearly the best of all time, and it's pretty unanimous. And so, I mean, that's just something special, and you're really never going to see that ever again, I don't think.
So this is a perfect segue, Will. The ending part of your, anecdote there was my question for this whole thing was, when it was first announced, not official yet because Schefter and all them jumped the gun, but when it was first announced, everyone starts, all the big sports social media accounts, like you got your Bleacher Reports, your ESPNs, what have you, they were tweeting out these graphics of like who are the GOATs of sports. And Brady was up there, and you've got, all your other faces of every other sport you can imagine. Some sports not even included in some cases, but I digress. the question I have here, you know, before we get to 145, we take a break, we come back, we talk about the championship games is, and Will, I mean, you were talking about team sport. I want to I do kind of want to lump in individual sports. I don't want to necessarily compare, you know, Tom Brady as an athlete to say like a Usain Bolt or a Simone Biles or anything like that. But in terms of his respective sport, does Tom Brady make a case for having the largest gap between the greatest of all time? Like, Will, you were talking about it. It's unanimous. Tom Brady is like the undisputed GOAT. Personally, I think that there is, and the fact that there is no one in the conversation for me means there is a considerable gap. The only other person in any other sport that I can think of that right now would have to be Gretzky with hockey, because like with basketball, you have the like to me, I'm not huge on that debate. I think you take each era as it is, but at the end of the day, I think we can come to a consensus that it's between LeBron and Jordan. And at the end of the day, even if you think LeBron is the greatest of all time, there's still going to be plenty of people that think it's Jordan, and vice versa. Baseball, I mean, I've been looking at numbers all day this morning, and I've been getting conversations. Who's the GOAT of baseball? There is not one clear answer that I have found. No, I don't think that there is a large majority of people that can. I mean, the number one answer you might get might be Barry Bonds, but I mean, I don't know. That guy's not a Hall of Famer, so throw that out the window. But even still, joking aside, I think Tom Brady, across all sports, has the best argument, along with him and maybe Gretzky, that those two have ended their careers as having the largest gaps in their respective sports. Can you think of anyone else, or do you think I'm way off base here?
When it comes to team sports, I would agree. I'm not really I don't really know hockey enough. All I know about hockey is, like Crosby, Ovechkin, Gretzky. I know those are like, like Ovechkin and Crosby are like greats now, and like Wayne Gretzky is considered like easily the greatest of all time in that sport. That's really all I know about hockey, to be quite honest. But if we want to do individual, I would say, and again, this is a sport where besides a few athletes I really don't know much about, but swimming, like with Michael Phelps. Like Michael Phelps is pretty easily the GOAT of swimming, and a lot of people say he's the greatest athlete of all time just because of what he was able to do in the Olympics. And so again, but I don't know like enough swimmers to be like who's like the second greatest swimmer of all time. I don't know, but based on like my extremely limited point of view, I would say maybe Michael Phelps with swimming, because he's definitely considered like by far the GOAT in that sport. And probably, based on just accomplishments, I'd say Phelps is probably the GOAT of individual sports just for what he did in the Olympics. I mean, he dominated several Olympics in Beijing and others. But so yeah, I think Michael Phelps with swimming would be my one if we want to do like individual and team. But again, I don't really know enough about swimming to know if there's really a guy or a person who's considered up there with Phelps or not.
Yeah. I like that you brought him up, and I will claim ignorance. Again, I'm not a big swimmer guy either, and if I had to think about this a little more, Phelps might make the cut. So we're looking at Michael Phelps, we're looking at Gretzky, we're looking at Brady. Connor, do you have anything here before we go to break?
Yeah, no, just quickly, just Brady is one of the only athletes I think that we've seen where from when he started in his sport to when he ended, there was not a one season where we were like, wow, like he's playing awful. Like he consistently played great at his sport. And I think that's hard to do. And I think that's why everyone sees him as the undisputed GOAT. And I mean, if you're bringing up individual sports, just a name that we haven't brought up yet is Shaun White with snowboarding. There is no one in the sport of snowboarding that has done anything close to what he's done. The amount of Olympic golds he's won, X Games, stuff like that. And he really set the spot for snowboarding and put down things that people had never seen before. So I think for individual sports, that's a name that we should bring up as well.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, when you look at the Olympics or you look at, non-team sports, there are definitely some GOATs that deserve consideration. I think that the fascinating thing about Brady for me, just at the end of the day, is the separation between him and number two. I think that is something special that it's going to be hard to challenge. Like even the fact that it's going to be hard to challenge someone like that, I think that's the most fascinating part about his retirement story. All right, we're going to take a break. On the other side of this, we're going to come back. We were talking yesterday about a lot of Tech basketball. We were telling you that today we're going to focus a little bit more on the conference championship games in the NFL. So on the other side of the break, we'll get there. So stay tuned.
Football on the diamond today from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. It's the New Era Pinstripe Bowl as Virginia Tech faces Maryland from New York. Catch it at his own 10, has space right up the middle of the field. Now will weave back to the right side, has blockers in front, across midfield, 40, 35, 30, and he will go down the right sideline and into the end zone. Maryland takes an early lead, a 95-yard punt return touchdown. 92-yard punt return. Here's a fake. Moore gets the snap up the left side. He's got the first down and falls out of bounds as the Hokies, with some trickery in the Pinstripe Bowl. Two receivers in the set. Blackshear comes in motion from the slot. Blumrick going to throw deep down the right sideline for Payute. He's got it at the 30-yard line and falls down inside the 25. Fakes the handoff. Tagovailoa looks down the sideline. He's got a wide open receiver. A one-handed grab from Cobbs, and he's twirled down inside the 5. What a play from Brian Cobbs.
Tagovailoa takes a snap, back to pass, has time. Now pressure, throws, little screen pass. Busted up by the Hokies. It was Shamari Connor leading the charge. Back to pass, has time. He looks, has all day, extends the play. Now steps up, fires. A wide open man to the left side of the field. Breaking a tackle into the end zone. To the left side, it's Darrell Jones. To the corner he goes, and into the end zone he goes. The give is to Hempley. The hole is there. Plunging forward into the end zone. Touchdown, Maryland. 41-10 is your score. And the nail may have just been put in the coffin. Maryland takes the 2021 Pinstripe Bowl. Your final score, the Terrapins 54 and the Hokies 10.
Hello and welcome into the Joel in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, for an ACC clash between the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest and the visiting Hokies of Virginia Tech. Bring around the Rosie to Kiana Trailer, who goes baseline, now into the paint, gets an open layup, and draws first blood. Hokies on top 2-0, 1:30 into this contest. Crossing the timeline to the top of the key, attacks the paint, gets a layup line of a layup to go, and it's 12-5. Rear director, X-Traffic like an air traffic controller. Gets a high ball screen from Samuel, used it, but backed out to the three-point line, pulls the trigger, and almost airballed it right into that breadbasket of Kitley. Amor pushes the pace, has speed, kicks out the trailer in transition. Another transition three for the Hokies, makes it 27-19. Amor with another easy dish in transition. Into the top of the key, Spear. This is the play all along. Spear, step back three, over trailer, it's money. Lands on her backside, and that will be the end of the first half. Hokies on top, 35-26. They led by 12 until a late three by Spear.
Dishes it back out to Becker. Now fakes, drives in the lane, pumps, puts it up. No, rebound the Deeks. Yes! Olivia Semiol puts it in for Wake Forest, and they strike first here in the second half. Elise Williams back up the floor for the Demon Deacons, then Shepard takes it away. End over end, back down the floor. Shepard off the glass and in. Asia Shepard for two. Add 2 points on the scoreboard. Hokies lead by 13. Resets and goes back into the paint. She puts it up for two, and that one will go. Pretty move by Georgia Amor. Hokies now up by 13. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Asia Shepard now drives down low, puts it up for two, and in. Asia Shepard, a pretty move there by the grad student. Down low in the paint. She has it stolen away by the Demon Deacons. 1:15 remaining. Down the floor goes Nia Becker. One-on-one with Asia Shepard. She turns, gives it off to Olivia Semiol, who puts it up for two and in. Deeks are within 9, 1:06 remaining. Saying so long from Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Virginia Tech wins it 66-53 over Wake Forest.
We welcome you into Castle Coliseum alongside Jake Lyman, Kevin D. Domenico here with you. The 8-1 Cornell Big Red visit the 6-3 Virginia Tech Hokies. Looking for a cutter inside, knocked away by Couture. Bad pass there from Dixon. Couture on the 3-on-3 finds a cutting Gasson. Up and under and one. Storm Murphy works it across. High ball screen for Aluma. Murphy's going to fire away and knock it down. Largest lead of the game for Virginia Tech at 16. 14-point lead for Virginia Tech, a commanding one at that. Ojiako high ball screen. Padula wants it, drives inside, finishes off the window with his right, and scores. Post up high side to the left is Aluma. They work it all the way around the perimeter to the far corner to Couture. Now a skip past Padula, left wing, fires away, got it.
Pass, skips it over to Couture left corner. Leaves it short, but Mutz follows with both hands and flushes it home. Hassan goes up to grab the board. Ahead to Aluma in transition. Two-hand slam for Keve Aluma. Got Padula on the line. He comes up short. Mutz offensive board. Kick out Aline right wing. Nothing but net. Gazan up the left sideline. Right wing Aline. Pass back Maddox. Steps into a three-in rhythm and knocks it down. To the short corner on the near side for Ogiaco. Jab step. He'll retreat back to the near corner. Hand off Aline behind the screen. His three tickles the twine. Hokies up by 29, 77-48. Time ticks off the clock, and Virginia Tech bounces back. A 93-60 win over Cornell tonight from Castle Coliseum.
All right, we're back. Just a thing I saw in the break. I mean, obviously it's February. It's the start of Black History Month, so Major League Baseball makes a post about it, celebrating, the history of black players in the MLB. And of course, they include Barry Bonds, who, was just shafted from the Hall of Fame. And we talked about this a little bit last week. Do either of you have any strong opinion? Are either of you strong baseball guys before we get into the NFL here? Any thoughts on the Barry Bonds situation?
I'm like a moderate baseball fan. I mean, I root for the Nationals. I've been to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I went like 5-ish years ago. And yeah, it's ridiculous. Like Barry Bonds is, and I haven't done I'm not too much into this. I'm not really entrenched in this debate, I would say. It is what it is, but Barry Bonds is obviously a Hall of Famer.
On the graphic they posted, it says he has won the most MVPs in MLB history. Exactly. And those aren't taken away. His home runs aren't taken away. None of his stats are taken away. So all it is just writers, playing politics. Connor, do you have any strong opinions on this, or are you ready to talk some NFL?
Actually, yeah. So I've been a diehard baseball fan my whole life. That was always my sport. And I absolutely believe that he should be in the Hall of Fame. I saw a stat the other day that it blew my mind. So David Ortiz, who was elected into the Hall of Fame, his on-base percentage throughout his career was .320, which is very, very impressive. And they did a number crunching where they took all of Barry Bonds' home runs that he's hit in his career, and they said if you turn that into outs, his on-base percentage would be .380, which is ridiculous. It's significantly better than Big Papi, and yet he's still not in the Hall of Fame. And as a baseball fan, I think he deserves to be there. And I like you said, I think the writers are just playing politics.
That's an incredible stat, by the way.
No, incredible stat. And I think we actually brought that up. All right, so I was just looking back through our old show sheets. If you guys want to listen to the conversation we had on that was on Wednesday. So you can go look at that. It's on our YouTube channel, Under 3304 Daily. That was the 26th of January, so 126. And if you have thoughts, again, chime in, YouTube live chat, 540-216-2231. All right. I mean, that already ate up some time, but let's get into some football here. We want to talk a lot of football today. So let's start off with the AFC Championship game, first game of the weekend on Sunday. And man, honestly, this game, I thought that the fact that Kansas City was a touchdown favorite made sense to me. You look at how the teams were playing heading into it. Kansas City's offense was on a roll. Their defense, was letting up some stuff. But I honestly felt that the Bengals weren't, lighting the world on fire in their two previous playoff games. Against the Raiders, they did okay. And then against Tennessee, Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times, and they still were able to come away with a win because their defense was playing spectacular. They picked off Ryan Tannehill 3 times. And the first half of the game, that was how I expected a lot of this game to go. And then it comes just down to the end, and that play at the goal line where they throw it behind the goal line, where it's like, dude, throw it into the end zone. And if it's an incomplete pass, hey, you have a second on the clock, kick a field goal, or take another shot, honestly. I like the fact that they went aggressive. But, man, the first half is how I expected a lot of this game to go. It looked like, Mahomes and them they were able to do whatever they wanted. And then, Jerick McKinnon was really good running the football. Even Clyde Edwards-Helaire was doing all right. And, Kelsey and Hill and even McCole Hardman had a couple big catches. They really were just doing anything they want. And then second half, and they just cratered. And the debate comes up. Okay, is it a choke job, or did Cincinnati just play good defense? And honestly, I'm more than willing to say that Cincinnati just made great adjustments coming out of the half, because Mahomes threw it 17 times. He was 8 of 17 in the second half and overtime, which his total QBR, I found the stat hilarious, was 1.4. I didn't know QBRs could get that low unless they were 0. So he played atrocious. And honestly, like I think it just came down to Cincinnati was able to sit back. They never let anything really big happen. It was a lot of underneath stuff, but then the second half they were able to dial in more on Hill, on Kelsey, and then what Mahomes was doing a lot in the first half, he was evading some pressure, but then in the second half it was just evading pressure, yeah, but he didn't have anywhere to throw the ball. He didn't throw it away. He didn't take off for a couple, easy rushing yards. And then he got sacked. And he got sacked 4 times in the game. Joe Burrow was doing a lot of the same stuff that Mahomes was in terms of evading pressure. The thing was, he was either throwing it out or he was, taking the easy rushing yards, or he was, he was just making the most of it, not going down. And he got pressured more in that game than he did against Tennessee when he got sacked 9 times. So honestly, just really impressive comeback from Cincinnati. Obviously, if you're a team with a young quarterback right now, the Joe Burrow has just increased the pressure on who your guy is exponentially, because he gets hurt in his first season. This is not a great roster. Like let's be real. Like there are a lot of people that look at this roster and say, okay, you have a below average to just bad offensive line. You spent some money on defense, but it's not like you have any world breakers on there, although Trey Hendrickson had a great season. And you've got a lot of good skill players that you spent a lot of draft capital on. But at the end of the day, with a second-year quarterback and a young head coach in his third year who's won 6 games before, that on paper, this is not a Super Bowl team. And Joe Burrow was just able to overcome all of that. And the defense played well, and it's not like Burrow played, the best game of football you've ever seen before, but he did what he had to do, and he makes plays, and he has that it factor. And I've always been annoyed of saying it. With Joe Burrow, I can't get annoyed with saying it factor, because that's just how you describe him. I don't know where you guys want to attack this game from, whether you want to attack it from the Cincinnati side or the Kansas City side, and what you want to look at in terms of them and their just downfall in this game and potentially their future moving forward. I don't know how you guys want to approach it, but I'm just going to give you guys free reign here for the next 5 or so minutes.
I think it's super interesting how we saw this exact same story before. I mean, maybe not exact same, but very, very similar in the first matchup, which was in Cincinnati. They played it, I believe, early January. It was, I believe they said it at half when the Chiefs went up, or, it was 21-10 at halftime. They were up by 11, and they were up by 11, the Kansas City Chiefs, in that first matchup in the regular season. And the same thing happened. The Chiefs offense just completely fell apart, and the Bengals defense absolutely shut them down. And shut down Patrick Mahomes in that second half after what was a really great first half in both of those games. And, Joe Burrow was able to make the plays, and the Bengals ended up getting a win on a last-second field goal. So I told myself that, if the Chiefs go up by a couple of scores, it's not going to be the same story. I thought, Mahomes, Andy Reid, and company would, learn their lesson and come out and still be aggressive in the second half. But that's not what happened. And I just can't believe that Patrick Mahomes, and this will get lost, but like in the first half, Patrick Mahomes was pretty much flawless. I mean, I think he threw 14 to 15 for a couple hundred yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's a flawless first half, but he also probably had maybe his worst second half of his entire career. Definitely one of them. And I don't even really think it was, he threw 2 picks, one in overtime and one in regulation in the second half. Both the picks were kind of like tip interceptions. The second one was in overtime, and I believe it was tipped into, I forget who picked it off, but it was tipped into the Bengals cornerback's hand.
Von Bell.
Yeah, Von Bell. Von Bell had the pick in overtime. It was tipped into his hand. It was still an inaccurate throw, but it was I don't think the interceptions were really what Mahomes did wrong, more than it was him scrambling around, Dan, like you said, and taking those sacks. Those sacks were brutal, and one of them, he even lost the ball and fumbled it. Now the Chiefs, one of their offensive linemen recovered it, but that would have cost them the game right there before overtime even happened. So I think to me, it was the sacks that Mahomes took were absolutely brutal, not throwing the ball away. And I understand that's Mahomes' magic. That's what he does. He evades plays. He's probably the best quarterback, one of the best we've ever seen when it comes to just out of system, I guess you could call it, or just outside of pocket, being able to scramble around and make just these 50 to 60 yard bombs down the field to Tyreek Hill, to, Travis Kelce, whoever, McCall Hardman. He's one of the best to ever do it when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I understand why he doesn't want to throw the ball away a lot of times, but at some point you have to. I mean, it's kind of a similar thing with Big Ben. You just have to throw the ball. You cannot take these brutal sacks And so I mean they had the ball inside the 5 on that last drive, and Harrison Butker ended up having to take a 44-yard field goal, even though they were inside the 5 on that last drive to send the game into overtime. And it was because Mahomes he was scrambling, and he didn't have anywhere to go, and he just didn't want to throw the ball away. And so to me, that was the story of the game, is Mahomes' first half, which was so flawless and so perfect, versus his second half, which was the complete opposite. So I mean, you put all that together, I guess it's kind of like an average Mahomes game, but I don't know. It was just incredible. But that's my take on it, is from the Chiefs' perspective.
Yeah, no, I mean, most of the time when you look at football games, right, you got to ask, like in this game, did the Bengals win it or did the Chiefs lose it? And most of the time it's a clear answer, but I think in this game it's a little bit of both, because like we said, Mahomes played great in the first half, but I feel like they came out in the second half and he was trying to do too much. There was too much movement, too much fancy stuff. He was trying to run around and make plays instead of just taking the yards that the Bengals were going to give them and just like march the ball down the field. So all the running around and the trying to evade sacks, trying to make these big plays happen is exactly what you said is what cost them. And I mean, on the Harrison Butker field goal to tie the game, like you got to at least try to get that ball in the end zone. Like he wasted, like, I think it was 8 seconds off the clock running around just to take a sack. And that's what was their downfall, was because that entire second half, that's all it seemed like he was doing, was just evading, trying to evade, running around, and then not throwing away. And like you said, taking the sack. And I think Joe Burrow just did a great job of doing what Mahomes should have, taking the chunk plays. And I think we need to give more credit to Joe Mixon, because he, in the second half and in overtime, was phenomenal. And I think not a lot of people are giving him enough credit because it's the Joe Burrow show, but I think he played great. And for all my Bills fans out there, I think they finally got a little bit of peace at the end of this game too.
Yeah, the fact that game came down to a coin toss and Kansas City ends up losing feels like a little bit of poetic justice. But no, I think with the Mahomes thing, Will, you were talking about just like how great he is as an athlete. And I think this part of the conversation, we can kind of tie back to Tom Brady. When you think of Tom Brady, you don't think the best athlete ever. He's a meticulous, just artist when it comes to pre-snap football. That's his calling card. Being able to read a defense. He's never going to run. He's never going to give you like a 20-yard run out of a scramble. Like, that's not Tom Brady. Like he'll pick up 3, but he's a guy that sits in the pocket, reads the defense, takes what it gives him. And Mahomes is a guy that can run around, has top end speed, even though we don't think of him like one of the fastest guys in the league. When he gets up there, he can sprint, and then he's got just an all-time arm. And that's what we think of with Patrick Mahomes. The thing with this is, though, the conversation is quickly becoming, oh man, only Mahomes has been starting for 4 years. We think he's so great. He only has 1 Super Bowl. Well, we go back to Aaron Rodgers and him being one and done in the playoffs. Obviously, that's not a good look. But everyone's questioning his legacy, not necessarily whether or not he's a great quarterback, but his legacy of only having 1 ring. And Mahomes, his legacy is already, starting to come into question a little bit. I think people were a little too early to acquaint him as the next GOAT. He might be the most talented guy to ever throw a football we've ever seen, but he comes out of here with, only, let's say 3 rings and only 5, Super Bowl appearances, because it's hard to win in the NFL, and he is just not able to surpass Brady at the end of the day. All right, coming up.
Can I give you?
Yeah, go one more time, because I know we're getting a little short. I want to get to the other game, and then I want to get to your segment too.
I was gonna say, there's just a quick stat here. There's only been 3 quarterbacks who, after losing a Super Bowl, have gotten back to the Super Bowl in NFL history. It's Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Kurt Warner. And Kurt Warner did it after what, I don't know, nearly a decade.
Yeah, it took him a while. He was that one with the Rams, but was that Tom Brady's first Super Bowl win? And then he had to go to Arizona?
Yeah, exactly. And then it was the one against the Steelers in 2008. But those are the only 3 quarterbacks who have, after losing a Super Bowl, and Mahomes has lost a Super Bowl, obviously last year against the Bucs, that have actually gone back in their careers and been back to the Super Bowl. So there's only 3 guys to do it.
That's a crazy stat. That I did not know. So yeah, forget how hard it is to win. It is hard to even get to the doorstep, and then if you fail, it's hard to get back.
Yeah,
so that's a great stat. I like that you pulled that up. Well, maybe that would have made me. Who knows? Maybe that's. We were inches. We were a Jaquiski tart dropped interception away from Jimmy Garoppolo being included in that list. How crazy is that? Wouldn't that be an all-timer? All right. So speaking of, that's a good segue to the game. All right, NFC Championship later that night. Not as fireworky, definitely hit the under. I think, or was the over under this game might have been 46.5. Now that I think about it. Oh wait, it didn't even top 40. So yeah, you know what? I'm crazy. But yeah, so the Rams come out on top thanks to a 13-0 fourth quarter, where look, Matt Stafford played good. He played well. He did what he does. It's this ability to just come back in fourth quarters. Cooper Kupp is insane, and no matter where he lines up on the field, he's going to find himself open. He is the definition of, maybe the 40-yard dash isn't the most important thing at the combine, but he's a shifty guy. His route running is insane. And then Odell Beckham Jr. has found himself a role on this team that has just grown and grown more each week. Like his first couple games in LA, he wasn't really getting the ball, or Stafford was kind of forcing him the ball, and we were questioning whether he fit in this offense. And then he had a stretch of games where he wasn't getting too many catches, but when they target him in the red zone, he was scoring touchdowns. Now he is just a full-fledged part of this offense, and this is New York Giants Odell Beckham. Like when we look at Odell Beckham Jr.'s career right now, there's the Giants phase where he was on pace to be one of the best wide receivers of all time. Like his rookie and their first year numbers, it was like Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, like Odell Beckham Jr. Those were the guys. And then Cleveland, his career just hits a wall. So much drama. He gets released, and he's able to go to LA, and he's fitting in a system where now it feels like he can reemerge and just completely reboot his career to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And it's incredible value. On the San Francisco side of things, their defense played extraordinarily well throughout the playoffs. I think the problem just becomes they have dynamic weapons on offense. They just don't have a dynamic quarterback to get them the ball. And even still, though, credit to Los Angeles for playing defense, because San Francisco is a team that wants to run the ball first, and then they want to get those opportunities to get guys like Debo to, do what he does with those long runs after the catch. Brandon Ayuk's kind of a home run hitter, and then they didn't really, target. George Kittle kind of had a bad end to his season, but Los Angeles really limited San Francisco in the ground game. Only 20 rushes for 50 yards. That's not what San Francisco wants to do, and that means that Jimmy G has to throw the ball a lot. And at the end of the game, crunch time, that's where his limitations come into play. So the Trey Lance era seems to be in full effect right now in San Francisco. Want to get you guys' comments on this game, whether you want to focus on the winner or the loser. I mean, if you guys want to talk about Matt Stafford, finally getting to a Super Bowl after just 1 year out of Detroit, I've already heard enough of that. But if you guys want to mention it, go for it. Whatever you guys want to do, and then we can wrap up today with Will's little trivia show.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the Rams. They just have so many a lot of people are rooting for the Rams. It's very easy to root for this Rams team just because they have so many faces that you want to see them win a ring. In fact, I've heard there's just been jokes on the internet about how we're not really rooting for the Rams. We're really just rooting for someone on the Rams to win a title, whether it's Matthew Stafford. Detroit Lions fans are really rooting for Matt Stafford, who was obviously their quarterback for so long, to win a Super Bowl.
Right. Well, the thing is too, no one is rooting for the Rams because they don't have a fan base. I mean, that just seems to me like the main part of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Odell kind of has his own little fan base because he's one of the most popular athletes in the NFL. Like Von Miller, I'm sure Broncos fans are probably rooting for Von Miller to get another ring. And of course, Aaron Donald is just one of the best defensive players really to ever play. I think he's up there with Lawrence Taylor, Deion Sanders. He's in that upper echelon with Ed Reed and those guys. Just his year by year dominance is incredible. So I mean, and even Jalen Ramsey seems to have his own little mini fan base as well. So it's just a lot of it is just with the Rams is people are just rooting for a player on the Rams to win, not necessarily the team. And yeah, Dan, you're right. They the fan base isn't really there. The Niners, whenever the Niners made a big play, it seemed like the stadium, the shot that they panned to was all 49er fans, which apparently it was like that in their earlier game as well. But yeah, no, it's the Rams are definitely the team that people want to win just to see that one face, that one player that they admire win a ring, which is nice to see.
Yeah. And I think on the 49ers side of things, I think it might be the end of the Jimmy G era in San Francisco. I think next year he'll probably be wearing a different uniform. But I think if we look back, special teams and defense carried them through the playoffs. Jimmy G was not phenomenal throughout the entire game in any of the games they played in the playoffs. I mean, and we could say that throughout the regular season, Deebo Samuel was the main reason why they won most of these games on offense. Because, for all we know, he could play quarterback too, but he never tried. But I think people talk about how, Jaquiski Tartt could have ended that game with the interception, but people also forget the fact that Jalen Ramsey had a pick six that he dropped earlier in the game. And so I think people are arguing back and forth. The game could have went different ways, but I think Jimmy G's last throw in San Francisco probably wasn't the one he was hoping it was going to be, but I think they had a good run, but I think it was meant to be that it was going to end here, just the way they were playing on offense.
All right, some breaking news, a little bit of regional news here. JMU is going to be making the move to the Sun Belt a little earlier, so they're going to be going in 2022. They will not be bowl eligible or conference championship eligible, so they're making that first year transition. So one of the powerhouses of the FCS is gone. Brent Pry looks like he got a commitment from a 3-star wide receiver cornerback with late signing day tomorrow. And yeah, so I'm just looking right now because now they're moving off the NFL. I want to get into, you know what? How about this? How about we take a short break, and then on the other side of it, we'll get to Will's trivia before we wrap up the day. So stick with us, and we'll be on the other end of this.
Good evening, and welcome inside the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And it will be Caleb Love passing it over to Manick. Trying to find Black in the paint, over to Baycott. He goes up and slams it down, returning Aluma's favor. Love back to Baycott, guarded by Aluma. All the way across to find a wide-open Leaky Black for three, and the first three-pointer of the night belongs to the Tar Heels. We'll go back to Maddox, through the hands over to Mutz. Mutz fakes a mid-range jumper to Aluma for three, and Keve Aluma gets the three-point basket. Pass goes back out to Keve Aluma. Naheem Aline for three. That one is good, and we're tied at 19 with 8:15 to play in the first half. Padula misplaces the ball, and R.J. Davis scrambles up the floor. Layup is no good. Defensive rebound by Aline, hands it off to Padula, who's coming up the left wing. Coast to coast will find Aluma, who gets the layup, and the Hokies have the lead. Murphy finds Couture. Quick fire three. That one is good. Big shot for Couture, 35-33.
Now inside to Mutz. Mutz backing down Manick once again. Mutz tries to go up and over Manick. Great defense by the Oklahoma graduate transfer, and up the floor we go. R.J. Davis, coast to coast, lays it up and in, plus the foul against Keve Aluma, and R.J. Davis reignites this Tar Heel crowd. Caleb Love kicks it out. Leaky Black, right corner three, got it. Leaky Black knocks it down, and he's been lethal from downtown so far tonight. Storm Murphy on the right wing for the Hokies. Dish inside, Justin Mutz slams it down with the right hand, silencing the Carolina crowd. Davis going at Couture, crossover at the ACC logo, kicks it out. Caleb Love thought about a three, goes at the chest of Naheem Aline. Kick out, left wing three for Manick, splashes the net, and gets the crowd right back into it. Go time if you're the Hokies. Kick to Manick, corner three in the air, knocks it down! That could be the dagger! Brady Manick from beyond the arc, and he's a maniac! Caleb Love gives it off to Manick, he's been hot. Corner three, R.J. Davis, wide open, and he drills it from downtown! And if that's not the dagger, I don't know what will be.
All right, here we go. Last 15 before we reach the bottom of the hour and the end of today's show. So with the Virginia Tech football schedule officially announced last night, along with the rest of the ACC, Will Loughlin, our special segment creator, he was in charge of, fun today. So he's giving us a little VT trivia game. Before we get into that real quick, guys, any comments on the schedule? I mean, I'm looking at it. I personally, I don't know why. Again, I know it was like Big East rivalry. I don't know why we play Boston College every year. I know it's the, cross-division thing, but I don't know. I would like to see some more diversity in the Atlantic opponents every year. I know that 2020, kind of got screwed up, so got a little lucky there and got to see a lot more Atlantic teams, with the divisions being gone, but I don't know. And I don't understand this whole, 10-year run that they're playing Old Dominion, and they're doing like home and homes every single year. I think the fact that they're going to Old Dominion, I don't understand it. I don't think any I don't think Power 5 programs should be, going to, these Group of 5 games, as often as they are. If you want to do something like I honestly like what Virginia did with Coastal Carolina. They're doing 2 homes at UVA, and then they are going into Coastal Carolina 1 year. I'm cool with that. I don't like this whole 5 and 5 split down the middle thing. That doesn't fly with me. But other than that, I mean, a lot of people have been pointing out pretty much every single game is in Virginia. You got 3 in North Carolina. You got 1 in Pennsylvania. So everything is very, very close. So if you wanted to go see all 12 games, you could. But yeah, I mean, their other Atlantic opponent is NC State. NC State should have one of the best quarterbacks in the conference back next year. I'm eyeing that Pittsburgh game that weekend because one of the things I've always wanted to do is take my dad to a Steelers game, and if we can stay in Pittsburgh for a whole weekend, watch a Virginia Tech game. So hopefully the Steelers are at home that weekend, the 8th. Any thoughts on the schedule this year, guys? And then we can get on into some trivia to wrap up the show today.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. There's 6 home, 6 away. I think the spring game is really the thing that obviously, like, it's just anticipating the spring game just because, it is the first thing on schedule. It's in April.
And the fact that we're actually having one. I mean, this is the first one, since 2018? They didn't have one the last 2 years?
Exactly. It's going to be live on ACC Network. So I think that's really exciting, is the fact that there's going to be a spring game is something. But in terms of the actual schedule itself, it is interesting how we have to go to Old Dominion and then to let's see, Lynchburg to play Liberty. So 2 Virginia road games against non-Power 5 teams. Get the rematch. A couple rematches like Pittsburgh, Miami. Obviously, Virginia Tech lost those games, so we're going to be going to Pittsburgh, and then we're going to be playing Miami back in Blacksburg here. But yeah, it's really just the Virginia games and also the Black Diamond the Black Diamond game against West Virginia Thursday night. It's going to be Thursday night in Lane Stadium. They're going to be back, so that's also a notable thing on the schedule, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm excited for Thursday nights in Lane, but I think the other thing too is just, again, for the second year in a row, interesting that it's front loaded home games again. We had 6 of 7 of our first games home past season, and now next season it's going to be 4 of 7. So I think it's interesting that, again, they're front loading home games. But other than that, I'm excited to be back in Lane again.
Yeah, no doubt. The whole timing of that Liberty game too. Just like it seems like you're ending ACC play. I know that the Virginia rivalry game comes at the very end of the season, but having Liberty right there, I don't know how much I like these like non-conference, non-Power 5 games, being that late in the season. I don't know. That's just my opinion. All right. Well, we've got about 10 minutes here, so what do you got for us in this trivia game?
Yeah, so this is a Virginia Tech football trivia game, just because, the schedule just got released. So we're going to do some football segment for the special segment. I did not make this quiz, so shout out to Beamerball on funtrivia.com. That's where I found this. So whoever you are, shout out to you for this quiz. But yeah, we got a few questions. We'll just do it until our time ends. First one is, and this is multiple choice, so I'll just read out the question, and then there's going to be like 4 answer choices. Also, I didn't do too very, very well on this quiz, but that mainly just because I'm not really, I've only been a Virginia Tech football fan since I've been a student here, and I'm a sophomore, so really only 2 years. I'm not really good at Virginia Tech football history myself, but
see, I'm in the same boat as you, Will. So, Connor, just for some context here, have you been a Virginia Tech fan since birth?
I have not. No.
All right, so this is going to go terrible. That's what I'm hearing. All right, I'm very excited.
It may go bad, but we'll see. I don't know. I can give you guys hints if you want. The first question is: who do Virginia Tech play in their first game of the 21st century? A, Miami; B, Florida; C, UVA; or D, Florida State?
Okay. See, now here's what I'm going to go with. I think Virginia was one of the options. That just can't fly. I'm going to go. So Miami and Florida State, I think at that point would have already been in the ACC. So I think that I might be completely wrong there, but I'm going to go with Florida. That just sounds right to me because the other ones are ACC teams. Tech wasn't in the ACC yet. Still in the Big East. I think like a non-conference game against an SEC opponent would have made sense.
All right. I was also in lines. I don't know. I don't know why, for some reason, even though we weren't in the ACC at the time, I don't know why, but for some reason, Florida State is sticking out of my head. So I think I'm going to go with Florida State.
Okay. The correct answer was Florida State. So there we go on the first one. Yeah, I got that one wrong too. I guess Miami. All right. So second question here. Michael Vick was the Heisman Trophy candidate. Was a Heisman Trophy candidate in his freshman season. How many first place votes did he receive? A 25, B 14, C 76, or D 104?
See, now I feel like I've heard something along these lines. I think it was. Oh yeah, I think it was like one of the first episodes of the podcast that Dwight Vick does with him and Mike Vick.
Mhm.
I want to say 104. He didn't win. I want to say he got like second or third place, but I'm gonna go with 104. I think that was around the number that I might remember, or I could be completely off my rocker. Connor, what do you have?
You said 76, right?
Yeah,
I remember
25, 14, 76, 104.
Yeah, he did. He did. I think he finished third, and I want to say it was 76.
Okay. The answer is 25. Yeah, this is again another one I got wrong. I don't know. Yeah, he did finish third though. You are correct. He was third place, but he finished with only 25 votes in that freshman season.
Only 25. So then the other two must, because I mean, there's like 500 Heisman voters. So the other two must have been like both.
Yeah. And so first place that year was Ron Dane, who won with 586, and the second place was Joe Hamilton with 96, and then Michael Vick was third with 25.
Okay, so there's like closer to 1,000 Heisman voters than 500.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
All right.
Okay, these next couple could be easier. Okay, well, the one after this next one is like a freebie, basically. Like I guarantee you guys will get it. But this one is who was the Virginia Tech head football coach before Frank Beamer? A. Larry Coker, B. Bill Dooley, C. Lee Corso, or D. Barry Duncanberg.
Definitely take off. I know for a fact Corso didn't coach here.
Corso absolutely did not coach here, or else they would actually, decide to come here every once in a while. Even though they don't go to they never go to Indiana, so that means nothing to me.
Right, exactly.
Who were the first two?
It was Larry Coker, Bill Dooley.
Dooley sounds right. I think Dooley is a name that I've come across before. The fourth one I've never heard. I don't think that's a real name.
Barry.
I don't think
I'll look
the
it up
fourth
right
person
now.
is a real name. Connor, where are you laying on this one?
Yeah, I'm going with B too.
Okay.
For
Yeah,
sure.
you guys are
It's-
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bill Dooley.
All right, here we go. 1 for 3, baby.
Nice. All right, this one you'll go 2 for 4. I guarantee it. Who's Virginia Tech's main rival? VMI, Miami, UPA, Georgia Tech.
Do they have one?
Right.
Yeah, no, it's Virginia, obviously.
Right. Yeah. See, but as soon as I saw this one, I was like, oh, finally, an easy one. All right, the next one here is, when did Virginia Tech play their first nationally televised game? So we're going year. A, 1969, B, 1967, C, 1966, or D, 1970. This one's
Well, geez, you
all
kept
from
reading
the
off
exact
names in like the
same
60s, and I'm over here thinking like, oh yeah, no, that's got to be like in the 80s, and then the latest year you give me is 1970.
yeah.
I'm just gonna go 70s because like back then, I mean, this was a team either in the Independent or in the Big South, so they were not playing in many big games. They were not a really good football program. I'm just gonna go with the latest year. Maybe they were good that year. I mean, those four are all so close together, and I have no idea how anyone would be able to.
66, I have no idea.
I'm going 70.
All right, 70. Connor, what was your answer again?
66 was one, right? 68?
Yeah, 1966 is correct. Good guess. Yeah, answer was 1966. So
I
let's
don't
see.
even know who they would have been playing on national television at that time.
Let's see. Does the quiz actually have an answer? It was, yeah. So in 1966, they lost to Miami, 7-6 on ABC.
Yeah, that's some good quality football right there.
There you go.
7-6.
There's 1966 football for you. All right. Next question here is, what was the final score of the 1999 Boston College Virginia Tech game that sent Virginia Tech to the national championship game? So A, 55-17, B, 17-0, C, 38-14, or D, 25-24?
No, the last one sounds too close. I feel like it
I'm
was
saying
a
38-14.
blowout, but like it wasn't a shutout or something that like they scored a ridiculous amount. So 38-14 sounds right, but honestly, the number for Boston College to me feels wrong. I'm gonna go with that one though. It's kind of like when you answer, like when you're taking a math test and the number comes out like 56, and the only answer that's close to that is 52. So it's like, all right, it must be 52. I'm gonna go with that one. I'm gonna go 38-14.
Yeah, me too. 38-14.
Okay, yeah, you guys were correct. It
There
was
we go.
38-14.
There we go.
Yep. All right. Let's see here. All right. Next question here. What was the nickname given to the great running back tandem of Kevin Jones and Lee Suggs? I don't even know what years those guys played, to be honest. But the answer choices here are the Top Gunners, or A, the Top Gunners, B, the Maniacs, C, the Untouchables, and D, the All Americans.
I thought it was gonna be something basic like Thunder and Lightning. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm between A and C. Can you give me those two choices again?
Okay, yeah. A was the Top Gunners, and C was the Untouchables.
I'm gonna go Untouchables.
I'm actually gonna go Top Gunners. I don't know why. For some reason, that's standing out to me.
Okay, the correct answer was the Untouchables. So,
I want to roll, baby. That's 2 in a row. What am I, like 3 of 6? I'm on fire.
all right, here we go. All right, next question here is who did Virginia Tech play in their first Big East? So not ACC, but their first Big East football game. A, Temple, B, West Virginia, C, Miami, or D, Rutgers.
Connor, you want to take a crack at that one first? I have no idea.
At I'm trying to think at the time who's in the Big East. Jeez. I don't know why. For some reason, Miami doesn't sound right to me. I'm right now in my head. I'm going between Temple and Rutgers.
You guys want me to give me you like the year they played this game?
You can. It's not going to help me in any way, shape,
Okay.
or
That
form.
would
It
not
was
help me at all either.
1992. Yeah, it's 1992 if that helps. I guess it doesn't, but yeah.
I'm going to go with Rutgers. I don't know why.
See, I think I'm leaning Temple. And by the way, like the old Big East, like I kind of want that back. I was never nostalgic for it, but when you look back at like who the teams were, it's just such a random assortment of
is.
colleges.
It is.
And honestly, I kind of love it. I love the aesthetic of it. I'm gonna go with Temple. I'm gonna go with the Owls.
Okay. So Temple, the answer was Temple.
All right, here we go. That's 3 in a row.
row,
Heating up.
yeah.
Wait, what is it? It's on fire. That's what it is. I'm on fire right now. That's what I am. On fire. I forgot to call it heating up, but I'm on fire right now.
I haven't gotten the last 3 right. I'm on a cold streak right now.
Yeah. What's the score update here? We got.
I don't know. I think I'm like 4 of 7. I think how many questions are we through
Yeah,
here?
that sounds about
I
right.
think I'm also 4 of 7. Or no, or 3 of 7.
Oh, so okay, so this is like a tiebreaker. Let's just call this one a tiebreaker here. Our last one of the day.
No, this one will be the last one, and it's a final score question too. So anything anything
boy.
could be right. All right, last question, I guess. In the 2004-2005 season, Virginia Tech lost their season opener to USC. What was the final score of that game? Was it A 28-3, B 35-33, C 17-7, or D 24-13?
I'm going to go with it's a close game. You're playing USC. 35-33 sounds right to me.
I was going to go 35-33, but so I don't pick the same answer as you. I'm going 17-7 because it's also a close game.
Well, you guys finished tied because the answer was 24-13.
Well, that's rough. That's an anticlimactic way to end a game.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Here, tiebreaker. Who's going to be their starting quarterback next year? Oh, man. Well, we'll figure that out. No, the spring game definitely.
Yeah, spring game will
about
be
that.
the answer to that one.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, I think that's just about all the time we have for today. Will, thank you so much. Great job on the game. Connor, thank you for joining us here today. We'll see you all tomorrow on Wednesday, the 2nd. Have a great day, everyone. 3304 Daily.